created the appearance she had something to hide. And since she had not spoken on the stand, the prosecution could not cross-examine her. Balaz made her immunity deal with the prosecution, but in the end, she provided them with little information and became a witness for the defense. Kelly then called another witness who could not be cross-examined. He played a tape made by Leonard Lake describing his rationale for the Miranda Project.
What I want is an off-the-shelf sex partner. I want to be able to use a woman whenever and however I want. And when I'm tired or satiated or bored or not interested, I simply want to put her away.
With a final glimpse into the mind of Leonard Lake, the defense rested its case. Peter Smith made the final closing argument for the prosecution. He reminded the jury of the evidence they had seen and asked them to return a guilty verdict. Then the trial took its most surprising turn. After hearing the prosecution sum up their case against him, Ng filed a handwritten motion demanding he be allowed to testify on his own behalf.
Fire you. And you.
When Kelly tried to convince his client otherwise, Ng threatened to fire him. Against the advice of his attorneys, Charles Ng would be taking the witness stand. Observers in the Charles Ng trial were stunned when they entered the courtroom on January 27, 1999. The accused serial killer himself was now on the witness stand. Ng was charged with killing 12 people, and after 3 months of listening to his case, he demanded to testify on his own behalf. Assuming the prosecution would use LaBerge's testimony to corner Ng, Deputy Public Defender Clapp decided to take the offensive and prove that LaBerge had lied.
Did you tell him that, with regard to Brenda O'Connor, Kathy Allen, that you shot them in the head while they were handcuffed and blindfolded?
No.
Ng testified that he had helped to imprison Brenda O'Connor and Kathleen Allen, but had not intended to hurt or kill them.
Did you tell Maurice LaBerge that you put their bodies on a pile of wood and ignited it with gasoline?
No.
Did you agree to kill, intend to kill, or kill any of the victims in the 12 murder charges?
No.
Ng's denials continued for hours as Clapp went over every statement Ng allegedly made to his jailmate. Then Clapp moved to have Ng explain away the prosecution's other key evidence, the M Ladies tape. On the tape, Brenda O'Connor begged Ng not to take her baby away, to which he replied, "It is better than the baby is dead."
Why did you say that?
I don't know why I said that. It was just in the heat of the moment. Some of the comments and remarks I made, I don't even know I made until I saw the transcripts.
The M Ladies tapes had been transcribed during the extradition hearing so that every word spoken on the tape could be understood. When Charlene Honaka cross-examined Ng, she used the transcripts to turn his own words against him.
Were you present at the extradition hearing when Mr. LaBerge testified that you told him that you could hear on the video the sounds of handcuffs clicking?
I remember that statement he made.
How would Mr. LaBerge know that you could hear the sounds of handcuffs clicking? I mean, that's not on the printed transcript, right, of M Ladies?
Right.
Honaka demonstrated for the jury that the only way LaBerge could have known about the sound of the handcuffs was if Ng told him.
Mr. Ng.
It was clear, despite Ng's denials on the stand, that he had told Maurice LaBerge the details of the torture and the killings. Details LaBerge couldn't have known any other way. Honaka then set out to establish that Charles Ng was not a bystander, but a willing participant in the crimes. she replayed a scene from the M Ladies tape showing Ing cutting the shirt off Brenda O'Connor.
So you never talked to Leonard ahead of time about your plan to cut her clothes off, right?
No, not on the tape.
So you just decided on your own to cut her clothes off, right?
Yes.
Without any specific instruction from Leonard Lake.
Onaka again turned to the videotapes. She played a portion of the tape where Ing tells Leonard Lake that a gun is on the table.
You told Leonard at one point that the piece was on the table, right?
Yeah, I remember saying something like that.
What did you mean by the piece?
Oh, just wanted to let him know the gun was on the table in case Kathy might grab the gun and shoot him with it.
Well, now, she's handcuffed, right?
Yes.
And she's got leg manacles on?
Yes, I believe so.
And there are two of you and one of her, right?
Yes.
And the reason you told Leonard that the gun was on the table is because you were afraid Kathy might pick it up and shoot him?
Something like that.
Onaka had shown that Ing was more than a bystander to Leonard Lake's crimes.
Thank you.
He was an active participant who sometimes even directed Leonard Lake. Because Ing took the stand after the prosecution closed, the judge gave them the opportunity to restate their closing arguments after Ing's testimony.
It's never Ing's fault. He always lays the blame on someone else. He was not under the control of Leonard Lake. He was his own person. He was making his own independent choices and doing the things he wanted to do.
William Kelly then gave the closing arguments for the defense. He asserted the prosecution had simply failed to prove their case and attacked their most important piece of evidence, the M Ladies tape.
No matter how many different ways they show it to you and excerpts from it, there's one thing you never see. Anybody being murdered. And you don't see Charles Eng involved in anybody's murder. No matter how many times you see him cut the clothes off Brenda O'Connor, and as offensive as that is, and I grant you it's offensive, but it ain't murder. It just isn't.
Charles Ing had been charged with the murders of 7 men, 3 women, and 2 babies. His fate was now in the hands of the jury.
Anybody who prosecutes cases or tries cases knows there's never a sure thing with a jury. And that's the difficult aspect of being a prosecutor. You have to convince 12 people beyond a reasonable doubt. And all 12 have to agree. It has to be unanimous.
The jury deliberated for a week, then 2 weeks. The media coverage intensified as the deliberations stretched into their 3rd week. The prosecutors became increasingly concerned that the jury was having difficulty making a decision. This was not a good sign for the prosecution, who knew their case was mostly circumstantial.